Today, I want to talk about a phrase that has been coming up the last week, like or two. In fact, I think last week's talk, I addressed it a little bit. But this idea, this concept of be here now, being here now, being in the present moment. It's a common phrase that is used in the spirituality or New Age community. But, like most of these phrases that are used, most of the people saying it don't even understand what it means. I'm just trying to be in the moment, man. I'm just trying to be here now. Being here now does not mean being ineffectual. It does not mean hyper passive. And I've said this quite often. It doesn't mean, these people that, I'm just being. Well, be in the slow lane so people can move still, It's all just a joke anyway. It's about convenience. That's what it is. I'm being here now as long as it's convenient. I've said this many times, authors, all about being here. When they get a check, they don't just be here now, they go be at the bank. I don't need money, man, that's the material world. It's all convenience, guys. Being here now, 12:01 is no more holy than 12 o'clock, nor vice versa. The time on the clock is not, it's a sacred be here now, it's a sacred present. The time on the clock isn't sacred. What's sacred is that at any moment is sacred when a child of God decides to be a child of God again. That's what makes it sacred. That's all. I chose not to be in the past. I chose not to be in the future. Just here now. But here now meaning what? In a sacred choice. We're the power, guys. We're the power. It isn't like, oh, hold on, it's going to be noon. Oh, I missed it. I got to wait till tomorrow for a sacred moment. It doesn't make sense. When people talk about sacred sites, yes, there are, these things we call sacred sites. Nothing is more sacred than the children of God. We created the sacred sites. We co-created the entire universe. And then humans made themselves small, and then they go to a sacred site. I'm sure glad I'm here. I get to be spiritual for a few minutes. Then it's back home to my partner, to my kids, to my job. Everybody just keeps missing the point. Before it was a sacred site, I am. Before there were any sacred sites, before there was a planet Earth, I am. That's something even Jesus said. Before Abraham was, I am. He was saying the sacred me, the Christ me. So, I can do this. Once I get that settlement, once I get somebody to own that they hurt me in some way, once I gain a victory in an argument or an election, then everything's going to be okay. No, I am. But I keep pretending that I'm not. Well, why would anybody pretend that they're not? Because we're more afraid of our light than we are of our darkness. It's all about convenience. People forgetting their divinity is not, the devil made me do it. We're not a victim of the world we see. So when we decided, which we do every day, to forget our power, any one of us knowing who we are, which would be chosen in a holy instant, when we choose that holiness, there's nothing we can't do. And we could say to this mountain, as Buddha put it, you could split the Himalayas in half, Buddha said. Jesus put it another way. You could say to a mountain, get up and walk into the ocean, and it would do it. Faith, as they say, even the size of a mustard seed, meaning this much, this tiny amount. Because true faith is immeasurable. Because it's not like I'm going to try to have a little bit of faith and then I can do things today. That's the way the human mind calculates it. But in God, if you even minutely remember who you are, you would completely know who you are. But people it's convenient. I don't want to completely remember my power. That's what we're doing. We're pretending that we're meager little things. When we talk about there's religions out there that say you're shameful, just worthless little worm, sinful, likely going to hell, almost definitely going to hell, if not definitely. And that sounds preposterous to us, right? But yet, even in the spiritual, knowing, new age kind of community, we're practicing the same thing. We're not saying it in that wording, but when you think an election can make you upset, you forgot who you are. When you think aches and pains can make you forget who you are, can make you upset, then you forgot who you are. It's all convenient. Well, remember, because we talked like last week about how, genetics and my past determines who I am today. That's all convenient. When I absolutely am committed to knowing who I am, I will. And this is happening now in quantum leaps instead of baby steps. Humans used to barely make one step forward per lifetime. And now we're doing quantum leaps in every day, practically. But not everybody wants to go there yet. Because if I'm going to have to own, if I get to own my power as a divine being, there's some conditions, so to speak. Well, what kind of conditions? The ones that terrify us. It's not convenient enough to say, I am that I am. I am as God created me. I am the Christ on earth. I am. God is, I am, we are. That's a fact. And that is my truth. That's cool to get there. But before you can totally accept that, you also have to accept there's the I am not. There's that which I am not. I'm a holy being. Well, where's your power? Make the chairs in the room levitate. Do something cool. The reason you can't is because we're still afraid of owning. I can't believe that I ever could have forgotten my divinity. See, I don't like that. I feel terrible thinking that rape and molestation and war was co-created by me. But you can't remember your divinity until you own that which is not divine. And that is called humility. Oops. Who wants to go, oh, that, oops? Nazi Germany, extinguishing millions of Jews. Oh, my bad. Who wants to do that? Whoever walks around saying, yeah, God, that whole flooding of the earth, that was me. Who wants to do that? We want to speak up against certain politicians or laws or crimes of humanity in this world. But typically, people want to complain about it. But when they do, they're not saying, I can't believe I participated in that. Nobody does that. And you can't remember the I am till you own that which I am not. It doesn't make you a bad person. All it does is make you part of an insanity. We forgot who we were. Oh, the Noah's Ark thing and the flood, millions of people killed, extinguishing Native Americans, South America, Central America, North America, what they did to the Native Americans, enslaving African people, all kinds of craziness, extinguishing the Jews in Auschwitz and so on. All of these things. I'm sorry. I lost my mind. And when I say I know I mean we. We forgot our divinity. We became scared and desperate, and we took it out on each other. The Nazis are exactly what they said they are. Not see. They do not see. And that's us. That's us. Anytime you ever hated, even one time in your life, if you can just own that even once you didn't like somebody, you were not seeing. You Nazi you. I'm not like them. You are. We're all. When I say we, I'm talking about the broken self that we identify with. So the present moment is where I get to say, not today. Today I'm going to see. That's why A Course in Miracles so often through the text is talking about vision. And in the workbook, vision. He's not talking about how to improve your eyesight. He's talking about you lost sight of who you are. A little more like Jesus saying, let thine eye be single. and you'll be full of light. Right. What does let thine eye be single mean? When I choose to see only as God sees, the one eye, seeing as oneness. How am I going to see the beauty of all our oneness if I can't own that we as one are the ones that did all the crimes to humanity? I don't mean that you consciously did it or we intend to do it. I'm not saying that you are literally this historic character and that historic character. I'm saying collectively we have it in us and it feeds that. So when Jesus said, resist not evil, what he in part was saying was fight it and you're just stuffing it even deeper. Just shine light on it. But I don't want to because I'm not that way. Then it stays another day. And now another thing happens in the world. Well, as long as it doesn't happen in our country, it's happening now. And it'll continue to happen. And that's terrible to some people's standards. Why? Because it's inconvenient. Because it brings this to your doorstep. And people don't want to look at that. The Police song called Synchronicity 2, many miles away, as the chorus says. It starts off with a day in the life of a family, all the usual stuff going on and antagonisms and whatever, craziness. Then the chorus, many miles away, there's something that crawls from the slime of a dark Scottish lake. The second verse, now you're at work and all this antagonism and tension. Second chorus, many miles away, something reaches the surface. Arbitrary statement. What's he talking about? Clearly, he's using the Loch Ness Monster. What does that have to do with a family? Over here, there's this family, and then, now you're at work, and, and tensions, and many miles away, unrelated. It's like saying, in the meantime, this thing that crawled from the slime in the first chorus, in the second chorus, it reaches the surface. Oh, interesting. The third chorus is, many miles away, there's a shadow on the door at a cottage on a shore of a dark Scottish lake. Does anybody get this? It's like it's a pop rock song. Oh, so we just kind of sing. Listen to what it's saying. That the things you try to hide from have emerged from the slime. Then they reach the surface. Now they're knocking at the door. If there's a fourth verse, you're in trouble. Because the fourth verse would have been, many miles away, a person got eaten by a giant being that burst into its home. So it's coming. I remember just a few months ago mentioning that American historic story where there was this Dust Bowl thing that happened. Lots of people. They had destroyed the earth, the soil. And so as an effect, karmic effect, what they call the Dust Bowl, where they're just winds and dust, it was filling people's lungs. People were dying, children were dying. When they were autopsied, their lungs were actually solid, like concrete, their lungs. Because the dust mixing with the moisture in the lungs turned it to concrete. Now that sounds surreal. It was happening. Hundreds and hundreds of people were dying this way. And the government didn't believe it and didn't want to do anything. But guess what? Many miles away, there's a creature that comes from the slime to the surface, knocks on the door. And I love that someone did this. There was a senator speaking, like the Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, I think they called that movie. This guy decided to speak to the government, get their attention. They're like, no, it can't be as what you say it is. So he kept talking and he kept talking and he kept talking. How long is he going to talk? Come on, sir, your time's up. No, I'm going to talk a little longer. Why did he talk so long? Because the thing that was happening in the Midwest and whatnot through this country, the winds picked it up and took it to Washington, D.C. And he said, well, gentlemen, now I don't have to sit here and try to convince you any longer. It's here. And when they went outside, the sky went black. And everybody panicked. It was like the end of the world. And they went, okay, and they voted, let's put money in correcting this situation. My point is not to make anything about politics. And my point is to say, you can only hide from these things for so long. It is an inconvenience. You were going to put money this way, and now you realized you got to put money some other direction because we've over-farmed or whatever. And it's the same in our lives. You can only escape what you know to be true for so long. There's the little truths that we have to own a little more. Like if you don't like your job, you got to own it. If you have too much tension in your relationships, it's helpful to own it. But of course, the bigger truth, I am as God created me. And I really am getting tired of not owning that. How do I know I'm getting tired? Because of everything I'd like to complain about in this world. I would have no complaints if I completely remembered who I am. I would be this presence that if I walk into a tense room, something would... Now, there's always going to be a few in such darkness that it's like tipping a rock in all the creepy crawlies. Certainly some people are going to go, oh, that person, I don't like them. Let your light shine anyway. But definitely the change you'll make when you walk in the room, knowing who you are, living in the present moment. And it's not that little philosophical, oh, look at me, I'm just in the present. That's just arrogance, trying to, show everybody how you have to talk softly too. It's a weird thing. How come being in the moment, you just all of a sudden talk like this? Because you're so spiritual. It's amazing. I just find it funny if somebody comes up and, hi, I'm just being. I start having comedy skits in my mind about this. I don't go, wow, you even talk softly. I'm impressed. I just want to go, what? It's like, if you're here, show up. Passion, man. If you're so plugged in, why can't I hear you? If you have the voice of God speaking through you, why can't we hear it? Why do you have to whisper? It's compensation. But being in the moment, I'm not saying it's easy. The past is gone. It isn't happening right now. But don't ignore it and pretend it didn't seem to happen. Instead, bring it to the present to heal it. Otherwise, it's going to drag you back. That's called age regression. Bring it to the present. Kick some butt. Show up. Here I am. Any past? Anybody got to speak here? Like it's some sort of open up for a conversation. All right, it's Sunday. Anybody got anything to say from back then? Wham, wham, wham. Come on. I'm bringing it to the light. I'm not going there. And some of those voices will say, that's fine. We'll get you later when you don't expect it. Just whatever. It'll sneak up on you. And it will. But when it happens, catch yourself and say, hold it. Oops, for a moment, I was regressing. Instead, let me bring that topic here. Talk about it, open up, let light shine on it, and it disperses. The future hasn't happened yet. So all you're doing is living in fear of the future, anticipations of the future. So what we can do is this. If I'm in the moment, I can bring the past to the present to clear it. If I'm in the moment, I can also do what with the future? It hasn't happened yet. So am I out of the moment? No. You know what I can do about the future is I can know this. My decisions in the present will assure me of a good future. Humans, they just sit around either fearing the future or plotting one. The only reason you start plotting a future is because you don't trust the one you're creating right now. You know you're messing up. When you sit around and obsess on the future, it's confirmation you're screwing up in the present. We know it because you keep talking about the future. You'll know your future's going to be fine if right now is fine. And if I unravel the past in the present, it won't choke me in the future. It will have no power to constrict my life. And in the present moment is where we practice forgiveness as well. Just like, wow, bring it here, and let forgiveness unravel all the tensions of the past and the future. But don't just practice, like retroactively, some act of forgiveness, staying also in the moment of love. What would God have me do? How would God see this? What would Jesus do? Or whatever works for you terminology-wise. But am I trusting right now? Am I being in a state of love right now? It's so foreign to human minds that it just seems scary. My best advice, I remember once observing I observe life and so forth a lot, and just watching birds. They just do this little, with this wing and that wing. It's amazing. Just kind of Zenish. And that's a great metaphor of, okay, I start my day, and instead of, oh my God, I'm exhausted and I haven't even gotten out of bed yet. Up, center in God and ride the wave, the current. Hang out in that beautiful, that state of God. One of my people on Facebook sent me something that reminded me of this story. But studies were done on this, and it's the strangest thing. Crows will actually land on the back of eagles while they're flying. It's bizarre. You think, well, how? First of all, how? And the physics of that, the astrophysics, the aerodynamics. How could that be? The crow will land on the back of an eagle, and it'll pick at the back of its neck or head. How bizarre. No, that's actually, I know a lot of people that do that to me. That's what you got to do, is take it and go, how does this apply to me? There are lots of, and maybe you do that to people, but there are people like that. They ride on your back. They ride you on things. You're not doing good enough. You're not doing enough. You're not earning enough. You haven't given me grandchildren yet. Whatever. That's just that, and just picks and picks and picks. Now the crow is doing what people do. It's being selfish, or it's being afraid. Is it protecting its nest? Whatever it's doing what it believes it needs to be doing, right? Shame it or wrong it. In the moment, for whatever reason, that's what it thinks it needs to be doing. It's not like it sat around just going, I'm kind of bored. Oh, look, an eagle. I'm going to fly up and just peck at its head. It's not like it just made that up. It's doing something that it feels is what it needs to be doing. But that's the people that you hang around. Even the most messed up of them, for some reason, that's what they think they need to be doing. So what does the eagle do? You would think it's going to flip, it's going to soar differently, it's going to fight midair, tactical things, The eagle's just like, oh, you again. And all it does is soar higher. The crow, when it gets high enough, can't adapt to the oxygen level, thinner in the heights, and it falls away. And that's what you and I are supposed to do. Oh, look, annoying people. Hold your center in the present moment. Who am I really? Now watch. If someone arrives into your life, lands on your back, rides on your shoulders, pecks at you, and you react, you know what you're really reacting to? Either wounds from the past or fears of the future. What if they're going to be doing this tomorrow? I don't want to give them the impression that they can get away with it. Future. Past, oh, I hate this. I always hated when people do this to me. You're just like my mother. You're just like my, whatever. Maybe you're just like my father. Maybe you're just like my mother too. Prince song. Anyway, the dove, as the dove cries, So it's like that. And think about that. Like when we react to that pecking at us, major hurts towards us or minor, reacting, it's the past or the future, but you're not being in the moment. And so a bird, which by the way, in many cultures, the eagle represents God. It's a symbol of the divine. So I wonder what I can learn from that. Oh, the divine says what? Let me sit and watch. I could read 50 books and not get this. I just watch an eagle and it just goes higher. And the crow's like, oh, this is annoying. I can't breathe. And it splits. You bring that presence into rooms, family reunions, or whatever you do in your life. You just go to higher levels. You can love your kids, but even your kids try to push the envelope. That's that on the back of your head. Mom, can I have? Dad, will you give me this? You don't love me. You didn't raise me right. Whatever. just a little higher. And there's a point where they're going to be like, I can't seem to get through to them. Because you're just holding your presence. You're rising to higher altitudes. It should be really obvious, the metaphor. Higher altitudes. Higher levels of consciousness. Being in the present moment is doing that. Let's just take a higher perspective. And of course that means being in the present. It means non-reaction. It means practicing love and forgiveness. So I can use the metaphor of the eagle, but putting in our activity terminology, that's what it is. Rise above and ask God to help you see situations. How would you have me see this? From a higher perspective. Well, they said this to me, and that offended me. I am that I am. Who got offended? Is it possible for me to choose in the present to be one with the divine and go, oh, I was divine a moment ago, but you made fun of my hairdo, and now I'm completely fallen? It doesn't make sense. The more people can get to you, the more you're affirming to yourself and to them that you've forgotten who you are. And you know what that does? Is it sends them away with fear that they also don't know who they are. So A Course in Miracles uses this phrase, teach only love, for that is what you are. What that means when it's saying that is demonstrate. Teach doesn't mean preach. It means be. Be who you really are to the best of your ability. You're still going to have moments where you get caught off guard. It's going to happen. Now, do you forgive yourself? Because you need to. You know, instead of, oh, I was almost perfect. Don't go there. You should and could even laugh at that. You know? Oh, wait. Oh my God, I got caught for a moment there in trying to be perfect. While in this world, that's not likely. But forgiving in this world is supernatural, believe it or not. It's not just luck. It's a supernatural thing. When you and I practice being in the moment, when you and I practice rising above, when you and I say, God, how would you have me see this? When you and I choose to see things from a higher perspective, and when you and I choose that, again, that statement of that practice of love and forgiveness, you're actually entering what I call a miracle bubble. You're entering something that is supernatural and it's multidimensional. And this world will try to peck at the back of your head and it won't get in because you're in this supernatural experience. So they can make slanderous statements like to Jesus and he just, whatever. Well, we can kill you. You know, Pilate threatens him. Herod threatens him. The Sanhedrin leaders, they're all threatening him. You know, and he's like, I don't care. And one of his main answers, you don't have any power except that which I give you. Like, geez, who does that? Who in school, you know, practiced that? You know, back in my days, way back in school, you know, it was a long time ago, a Bible generation ago, technically. They still had swats, you know, paddles. And I had friends that would be like, I refuse to, I'm going to call my parents and fight this in court. You know, I'm like, you know, I'm like, let's get it over with. You know, and friends are like, but it could hurt. I don't care. Just do it so that we can move on. That's my attitude about it. I swear. It was just the weirdest thing. Even when there were teachers that thought I did something I didn't do. It's like, well, rather than talk about this for a long time, just go ahead. Oh man, stings too. Pap, you know. For a split moment, you know, it's like, woo. But I just started thinking that maybe my Kundalini's going, you know, maybe it's helping things along there. I don't know. But this world doesn't have the power people tend to believe it has. But it's going to feel like it. You know, you catch a cold and then you go, oh, how could this be happening to me? I'm so spiritual. If you're so spiritual, then laugh at the fact that, isn't this funny? I am a holy being and I think I have a cold. And just do it. Look, think of it that way. I think I have a cold. I don't have one. The I am doesn't get sick. But here we are. Play the game, move along. And that shows that I did not allow the past or the future to pull me one way or the other. It did not affect me the way this world would like to think it affects me. That's teaching only love. You're demonstrating to people somehow it's going to be okay. Got that? Everything, when everybody uses that phrase, it's all good. If you really believe that, then be quiet. Don't complain about everything. You walk around and say, it's all good, until something inconveniences you. This isn't good. Wait a minute. Earlier you said it's all good. All. It was italicized when you said it. You underlined it. It was in bold font. I remember, that emphasis, it's all good, but yet you're not acting like it's all good. So one of the things we have to recognize is the importance of reflecting back and looking at ourselves. If I'm going to walk around and say it's all good, I might want to start living it or stop saying it. But at least do your best, if you're going to say it, to live that. The quality of, Edgar Cayce used to use a common phrase. For him it was common. Watch self go by. We call that self-inventory now. But watch self go by. So that means be honest and watch yourself. You're the guy who keeps, it's all good, but look what you did today. It's all good, but you don't like them, you'll never get over this. You're worried about that. Where's that at? And I got to say, it's not easy because I really do a lot of this. And it's not easy to really make those micro adjustments as you ride the current as a bird, as you ride the current. Micro adjustments, because sometimes it will seem like there's predator birds. Sometimes, it'll seem this and that and the other. But, you flew too close to someone else's nest, they come and attack. All that happened was, like that crow, it's protecting what it values. Maybe it's its baby, maybe it's territory. But in human beings, it's the same thing, guys. You might understand that an animal's protecting its den or its nest or whatever, and you go, well, yeah, I understand it's protecting. But people that are mean or rude or reactive around you, including yourself, they're also protecting what they think is valuable to them, including their egos. Not just stuff. People protect their egos. And they want things to be a certain way. The boss who gets really angry when employees are a few minutes late or whatever. The reaction isn't just about boundaries, although sometimes that's good to have boundaries and say, listen, you got to be on time. That's fine. But the hurt, the anger, the reaction, the threats, maybe the person's being triggered. Maybe they're being their father. Maybe they're being the father that wasn't there. Maybe their frustrations that their kids don't obey is going to work and they emphasize it on their employees, or vice versa. When your business is out of control and you value, that's what I am. I'm all invested in the success of my business. So the failure's there, I'm going to take home and I'm going to take it out on my kids. It's not appropriate, but I understand it. You have some ego little construct and you're trying to protect it. What do I mean by ego construct? You think you've lost your happiness when you couldn't control things the way you'd like to control, like the success of your business. It's not what I want it to be, so I'm anxious. And the employees won't sell more, so what am I going to do? Snap at the kids. It happens. I remember one time, as much as I had a good relation with my kids, I remember going through a divorce and things happening that my partner at the time would not discuss with me, and it was so frustrating. And everything in the construct of my life as a kid, 20-something years old, everything was falling apart. Now, I had constructs I didn't know I had. It could be the normal ones, like you expect the relationship to last, or you don't want your kids to have to go through a divorce, all that kind of stuff. Whatever it was, all the constructs were building and building, and she would not talk to me about, and it's building and it's building. And one time I got in the car and I'm taking the kids to school, and I choked up for a moment because they were, doing what they do. Dad, she's on my side of the... And for a moment, can't you guys just stop? Just for a moment, choked up. And in a sense, was just crying out. How long is this going to happen? But it wasn't them. Everything was falling apart. And in that moment, can't you guys just, and really what I'm saying is, can't you guys do something to keep my illusions alive? And they'd be like, Dad, we're 5. I don't think we can pull that off. And you get that you can't do that to 5-year-olds, but do you understand that 55-year-olds are still also 5-year-olds? They're all wounded and broken, and we're expecting them to keep our constructs alive. And it's just not going to work. So, die a good death. When you see that there's things you're trying to protect, whether it's your beliefs in certain kinds of politics, your belief in economics, your belief in households, the way they're run, die a good death, man. Because when you don't go willingly, you'll be dragged back into reality. Be here now. Not what you wish you had or hadn't had go on in your childhood, or what you wish would happen or not happen in your future. Being here now is synonymous with the word trust. I don't know. I don't know. Show me, God. And there's no way, if we really truly step into the present moment, I don't know, show me. There's no way that could go badly. But we don't believe that yet. Show me, God, but I'm going to keep some provisions just in case. Show me what it's like to trust you day by day. My daily bread. I'm going to keep some stashed in my coat, but I trust you. Give us this day extra bread, because I already have some. Give us this day our daily bread. I've got my partner, and make sure you arrange that they'll stay here forever. Even in other lifetimes. When I die, I'm just going to sit somewhere waiting for them to catch up and die so they can watch over me in the other side. And then when we incarnate, we'll be right back and find each other again because I want it that controlled. It's not going to happen. There's going to be other people and other experiences. All that really matters is love. Am I teaching only love? How? Am I being only love? When? Now. When I am only love, I will heal the past that wasn't loving, and I'll bring love to the future. I can trust the future's going to be fine. I can trust it because where do you think the future is created from? According to most human beings, it's built from the past. Then let's clear the past. Spiritual people would say it's created in the present moment. Great. Then let's be righteous in the present moment. Either way, this is going to be based on my doing, my being, my consciousness. So the future is going to be not in just like in the hands of some vindictive God. That belief is from my past anyway. So let me heal my misperceptions of God. Let me see things differently. And all of a sudden it's like, I don't know how, but I'm just trusting. It feels so good. Everybody watching this program, and even many who aren't watching it, have had at least one time in their life, whether they knew it or not, they had at least one time in their life where they actually did this successfully, where they were in the moment, they were trusting, and therefore they were creating something beautiful that was going to happen over here. You do all your work. You don't always see that it's going to come out good. You don't know that it's even connected. But one way you can turn that around is just to recognize nothing happens by chance. So if at any time in my life something went well, I must have chosen well. And give yourself credit. What humans do is, yeah, this feels kind of nice, but this could blow over at any minute. Something could go wrong. I'm not used to things lasting. How about letting it last right now? Start with that. But at any moment that I see a goodness in my life, I had to have created it. And if I created it, I can't be all that bad. Despite what the past programs want to tell me so that it screws up my future, when I sit and absorb and say, I guess I'm not that bad. This is kind of cool. Not all that bad. The work I did in the program, in the 12-step program, or as a parent, or in counseling, or whatever I did, it must have come out well at some point because I'm experiencing the effect of it today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shut it down, fear that it's going to go away. You've created tomorrow. And it goes away. And you know what you'll do? Complain about it. See, I knew it. I knew it couldn't last. It could have. You just didn't choose it that way. You want to change that and try again? Then do so. When? In the present moment is when I can choose again. How? I just go, oops. How do I need to know I'm saying oops? Anytime I'm not feeling completely loving and peaceful. It's worthy of an oops. Because oops means, oops, I made a mistake. If I'm not feeling love, peace, joy, abundance, I must have believed that I was less than God created me to be. And, oops, sorry about that. So you practice the Hawaiian Ho'oponopono prayer with yourself. Oops, my bad. Sorry about that. You know what? I really love you. And your head's going to, I don't, that sounds selfish. Didn't my parents tell me, you can't love yourself? No, stop. God is love. I'm made in God's image. I am love. So I can only love myself, really. And I'm kind of tired of not. It's annoying. It's worthless. It wastes time. So I'm sorry. Please forgive me, Michael, or whomever you're speaking to, but yourself. Please forgive me. It's beautiful. Thank you. I'm so sorry about all these crazy beliefs I had about you. I'm sorry about that, and I love you. Give thanks. And then all in that beautiful moment, it's a simple moment. It's not filled with all kinds of ritual and celebration and ceremony. It's just, wow, back to I'm going to be what God created me to be. And I'm going to love myself because God has created me to be loving. So I'm just going to be loving. And everything we start to see starts to change. You practice this as consistently as you can. Every morning start with that kind of a thought. But especially when you slip into judgment, past, future garbage, just come back to it again and say, okay, present moment, I am as God created me to be. However, I'm not seeing it that way, so help me see differently. Rise the current up higher, things will fall away. And it's the coolest thing because it's miraculous. You might not even notice the shift immediately. You might. But you might suddenly realize 3 hours ago or 3 days later, an hour ago, 3 hours ago or 3 days later, whatever, anytime later, you might suddenly go, wait a minute, wasn't I really upset a couple of days ago? When did that change? It changed in the present moment when you chose something different. Let's please take a few centering breaths. Setting aside all stuff of the world, let's just go right to a point in our lives, anytime. Could be recent, but any time in our lives, where it felt like something was riding our shoulders and pecking at us. May have even been ourselves, but someone riding you, man, just the complaining, the fault finding, the hurtfulness, selfishness, temptations. Picture that kind of moment. Don't be afraid of it. If you become afraid of it, see that you're afraid of it and own it. But to stay afraid of it affirms that it has power over you. Nevertheless, if that's how you feel, it's okay. Be panicked for a moment and say, I don't like what I'm feeling. God, help me. But see this kind of a situation. And then let's ask ourselves this. Did I ride the current to higher consciousness and transform this? If so, make sure you give thanks for making a good choice. If you didn't, own it. Oops. That wasn't quite rising effortlessly to a higher level. Oops. And then, what could I have done differently? And spend the next half minute just imagining what you could have done differently, how you might have handled that differently. And if nothing comes to mind organically, just ask God. God, how would you have had me behave, think, move, respond differently? And just make believe, imagine it. And to some degree, you may have just now seen yourself rising above. When you rise higher, you're at a higher vibration. So imagine hearing the songs of angels. Imagine hearing God's gratitude, the voice of Christ, the Divine Mother. The benefits, some of those benefits that the universe reflects to us when we've made good choices, healthy choices, righteous choices. And then hear the voice of God saying, "You are my beloved child in whom I am always well pleased." Wow. Me? Just wow. Hang on to that for a moment. And like that eagle, there's a time after that where we still come down to earth, down to the nest, down to the home, to bring that beautiful experience with us. Come down to the nest. Feed your children, your friends, your employees in the nest waiting. They cry out for food. God knows they're going to be fed. You should know they're going to be fed. So have that confidence when you see and you're around other people. Show them that there's sanity somewhere here. Show them that you're not reacting the same as everyone else. Show them confidence. But it's not from the head. Confidence that comes from a knowingness that God is, I am, and we are. And so it is. Beautiful. Good stuff, yes? It's just beautiful what we all share, what we're all creating, co-creating for ourselves. It's not a building and a lecture. It's not at all what we're about, what we do. It's not old school churchiness or centers. This is an experience that we're co-creating. And it's just great that we're doing that. We're finding heaven on earth, and we're becoming participants in anchoring heaven on earth, known as Eden. I don't know, Father, Mother, God, how we could all say to ourselves, how I became a participant in something so profound in humanity's awakening. But I do know that I must have been participant in this choice. I must have chosen well somewhere because I'm here. I must have a significant quantity of light to have chosen to watch, hear, attend this type of talk, this experience, the prayers, the sacred reading, the friendship, the camaraderie, all of it. The light of God surrounds us.
We are the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
We are the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
We are the power of God.
And the presence of God watches over us.
We are the presence of God.
Wherever we go,
God
God is, I am, we are, and so it is, forever so. Thank you, guys. Peace be with all of you.